See, we are living in a world where we are all residents of spaceship Earth. If something happens that is unfavorable in one part of the globe, it has unfavorable impacts on other parts of the globe. I think that desire to see that we must help our brothers, we must help other countries, even on the part of those countries which have benefited from colonialism, has now vanished. That feeling has vanished, unfortunately. So there's very little political support for development assistance programs. And may I say, there's also a lack of leadership. There are very few leaders who say, look, we have to help the countries which are poor. We have to help communities which are poor. And maybe this will change. I hope it changes. Because today the distinction between rich and poor is becoming larger. And to my mind, that's a dangerous situation. It's not healthy on any basis at all. When I had the privilege of accepting the Nobel Peace Prize on behalf of the IPCC, in my speech I used the term Vasudev Kutumbakam, which is Sanskrit for saying that this universe is one family. I think that feeling has vanished. People don't believe that we are living on the same planet, we are part of the same universe, and therefore we should be concerned by every element of this universe.
There is, in the process of doing documentaries, I find when I try to explain, when I try to ask, why we are not investing enough for the environment, why we are not investing enough for education, because everybody agrees that this is not consumed, it's not money being spent, our investment. But then it seems that everybody finds a culprit somewhere else. Politicians would say, well, but the media do not understand. I mean, if we spend for something that the profit will come to the next generation, we will have the media against us because you say you are not tackling the fundamental economic indicators. The media people will say no, because the politicians, they just see for their next interest on the next step, so they give fault to each other. Surely there is this gap between I think that somehow the top politicians, the top leaders, not everybody of course, but they are realizing that the pattern is not sustainable. There should be longer time of investment. But this seems unable to do a change because their survival is based on short terms. And on the other side there is the public, which is used to think that politicians will not think about them and anyhow will not sponsor any kind of movement. I mean, we are now in the media section, we are working, so we are working on trying to bridge this distance.
As we are walking down here as, well, journalists in the third world countries, developing countries I mean, there are certain things, there are certain issues, because customs and tradition serves as a barrier between the Western journalists and the third world journalists living in Africa, especially the developing countries. Because the way we broadcast to our own people for both radio and television varies to that of yours in the Western world. Because if you watch the way they broadcast from the Western world, well, they will be focusing on cities, well, maybe other bigger towns, whereas we are looking at bigger towns, cities, bigger towns, and the village setting. You may go to certain areas, you cannot use, the places are not motorably, you cannot access them through vehicles because you don't have good roads. You have some certain other areas where you can access those towns with vehicles. But it doesn't mean the people are not living in a standard which I think is permissible for them. You can class them that yes, they are poor because they cannot use the technology which you are using in the West. But you can't class them as if they are living below.
Along the North Atlantic coast of Sierra Leone, flanked by lush green hills, lie some of the most beautiful beaches of the world. Sierra Leone, one of the poorest countries in Africa, is still struggling to emerge from a decade of cruel civil war that ended in 2003 and left behind more than 200,000 orphans, thousands of amputees, a generation of psychologically disturbed child soldiers, and a failing healthcare infrastructure. Before the Civil War, many luxurious hotels existed along the beautiful beaches. They were surrounded by barbed wire and armed guards that kept the local impoverished communities away from the coastline. These beaches were part of the local heritage before local populations got dispossessed of their resources.
You see the stones over there? There used to be a bridge that go up to that small island, and that island used to be rocky. One man by the name of Cosmos was hired by the proprietors of the hotel to break the stones on that island and create a helicopter landing. This is African Atoke village, and here is where they prepare all other food that is not on top of a grill. This place was bought by these Lebanese. They did nothing. They just buy the land and leave it. So they waited for the investors. When the investor came, they do no negotiation with the local people, because the local people sold it already to the Lebanese people for just small money. And the French people, they built. When the war broke, when it hit part of Freetown, the proprietors and the managers, they left. This place used to be very, very lovely. The DJ used to stay there. That's the DJ booth. And you have the drinks. This is the place where they sell the drinks. And then somewhere behind there, the white tourists, they like some play roulette, gambling.
Such an unbearable gap between the enterprises and communities was among the drivers of war. Now, after these hotels have been destroyed and peace has returned, the challenge is how to use nature as a resource for the empowerment and not for the subjugation of local communities.
Then the idea came to this man, Mr. Hope.
What is the idea?
He said, it is better for us to come together and work for the interest of the community. So definitely, 4 of us supported, but the majority didn't support, because
Why not?
they said if we decided to come together, then they can never benefit what they used to have before. They've used to work for individual benefit instead of collectively. So with this, they are not satisfied. And moreover, they said we are lazy. Lazy guys always come with brilliant ideas.
Here, the local village community started a successful venture on the village beach that it now manages in a spirit of solidarity.
It was not really easy. We introduced the ideas to the others, to the general populace. It was very difficult. But we persuaded them. We go into several meetings, and then we decided to offer one out of 1,000 leons or 5,000 leons, we pay the sum of 500 leons to the organization.
We are all rushing at the tourists. Everybody is fighting, come here, come to me, come to me. Well, some people are profit and some people don't profit. So we think and said, well, let's come together.
The No. 2 River Beach Resort practices and promotes responsible tourism. That is, a tourism that has positive social, cultural and environmental impacts, and that protects human and natural assets. For tourists, responsibility means relating to the environment and the communities in a non-invasive manner. In this way, they are able to enjoy more rewarding human relations and experiences of contact with nature.
And I am the president before. I have been my position like PRO in the community. I am an advising team. I like the work a lot. So, but now for today we are very proud, because for what we have done, people are coming from outside the world say, oh, here is paradise. You see, as you see the table and the chairs, we start with 3 of it, 3 tables, 9 chairs. And now we are boasting about 800 chairs and something like 500 tables.
I bounce it over the garden wall.
The association reinvests some of its profits into the resort, while 10% of the revenues are invested for the welfare of the village in form of educational and health services.
And we're also spreading the community into other things. And we don't have no like Guma water as a well. We dig a well. Out of the well, we process it, and then we are drinking that water. We are living through that water. And also, we have small generator before. Now we have bigger generator that the light is serving all the community. So it's like everybody is benefiting and the community. We have a boat, a fishing boat, which belongs to the community. The women, they are responsible for the fish. They smoke the fish from the village and take it to the market. So the women, they have their own cooperative, like they call the Women's Wing.
Okay, I am the leader for all the women in the village. Yes, I'm leading them in case of any projects, anything we need to do in the village. They invite me, I go to the meeting. After the meeting, I come and every month we used to give collection. 1,000, we put it together. If you have problem, we'll give it to you.
The idea of the lazy guys cater for the welfare of the children going to school, the old age. If anybody gets sick in the community over there, river number 2, the lazy guys' ideas worked.
So the profit that we have now, we extend it to the village, and we have 12 more houses built by the cooperative, so people can have more accommodation.
I believe and I trust that with the help of our ancestors, that place will never close like here.
And we are sponsored by the Norwegian government. They give us money to train other people to come together, but it doesn't work because the mind was not in one, so they try but they fail, everything break away. Because in this thing, if you want to have a good cooperative like this in your community, then you have to work very hard. You have to get patient. You have to forget about money in the first place. Then you have to work very hard, and you have to, patient among yourself. It will be some problems, but at least you should know how to settle it.
The mistakes of the past could well be repeated, and for the sake of high short-term profits, social and environmental impoverishment of this wonderful land may happen yet again.
Even if we have a multi-millionaire to come and say, well, I want to buy this place, so let me give you no, the answer will be no. We're not ready to sell this place. We are ready to keep it. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of energy, lot of time, strength to develop a community like this.
Però vedi, una delle cose un po' tristi dell'Occidente oggi, è anche frutto di comunicazione televisiva, eccetera, è che le persone sono piuttosto lontane dalla vita morale. E per cercare di farsi vedere morali, diventano moralisti parlando male degli altri, anche se non sanno di che cosa succede. Però per accreditarsi come morali, parlano male di qualcun altro. Trovi predicatori di vario tipo, dai politici ai preti ai giornalisti, che essendo lontani dal vero vigore morale, che è quello di vedere la dimensione spirituale della vita, si accreditano parlando male di qualcun altro. Vedi che parlo male degli altri, quindi vuol dire che sono bravo. Lavorare nella cooperazione internazionale, al contrario, è creare climi di fiducia. Sapendo che ci sono problemi, sapendo che ci sono incomprensioni, sapendo che ci sono egoismi, ma sapendo anche che ci sono comprensioni, che ci sono fiducie, che ci sono solidarietà. Allora, questa è la dinamica, la vera dinamica della cooperazione internazionale. Non è tanto fare la cosa, costruire l'ospedale o dare le barche ai pescatori, che va bene, fa parte del lavoro, perché io non posso creare fiducia e non affrontare i problemi. Ma fondamentalmente il suo vero lavoro è creare comunicazione, creare fiducia, creare comprensione e superare i vari stereotipi che si oppongono l'uno con l'altro e superare i vari moralismi che si sentono soddisfatti fatti di se stessi nella misura in cui si parla male degli altri.
The peaceful sharing of water resources is the principal form of cooperation within any community. But control on water resources is also the prime source of economic and political power. In the Middle East, water has always been scarce and precious. And now that growth and development have exponentially increased the demand for water, the major policy challenges are around ensuring cheap and accessible water for the entire population and avoiding the misuse and wastage of water. The European Union supported the Syrian Water Authority in improving its water and sanitation facilities and services.
Most of the work is actually to do with assisting with the commercial improvements so that bills are issued on time and collected, help people deal with the actual customer and improvements. But we have this additional part where we are very interested in how the public interact with the water.
احكيلي انت وقت طلعنا على المسرحيه شو كان دورك بالمسرحيه؟
كان دوري انه الصبي كان مستهتر بالمي ما عم يحس بمسؤوليته فكان حارب كثير من القرى بسبب بس هدره.
مشاركه بحمله ترشيد المياه اللي عملناها. نحن بالتنسيق معهم مع عده اجتماعات وحوارات اقروا بالاتفاق مع عده مدارس موجوده منهم مدرسه بنات الاجيال للمشاركه بمهرجان.
We visited the Damascus Mosque, where the Imam had organized the recycling of ablution water to irrigate a big garden in the mosque premises.
أساس الصناعة وأساس الزراعة وأساس الحياة البشرية قائم على استهلاك هذه النعمة ألا وهي الماء. وقد حثنا الله سبحانه وتعالى على الحفاظ على هذه النعمة الجلة.
This is so the people when they wash for praying, then the water go to this tank, and through this tank go through pump and then filter, and after the filter we have the irrigation system which irrigate the garden wastewater, and we store it in tank, and then we pump this water after we filter the water to the irrigation system.
In addition to that, they're looking at other areas of Syria where the European investment can support Syria in its development needs.
المساجد العظيمة في العالم الإسلامي ويعتبر الحمد لله بعد المسجد الأموي من المساجد الهامة في دمشق.
شو كان دورك بالمسرحية؟
كان دوري إني أميرة المياه إجي لحتى نبه زين إنه نبهه لأنه كان حارم كثير من القرى من المياه فسبب لهم بجفاف الأرض بعطش الأطفال الصغار.
Sorry, dear children. Our generation did not leave you with the same richness that we inherited from our parents. And you might no longer be able to live in the atmosphere of peace and amicability among different communities of Syria that we so enjoyed just a few years back.
We can speak of the environment in the sense of nature, but we can speak also environment in the sense of the human relationship climate. The human relationship, the climate of human relationship, how much they cooperate, how much they tackle the common problems, is fundamental also to deal with the environment as nature. So we need to look to a different kind of knowledge,
right,
which is not just technical, scientific, like the kind of things that we
sure,
to school, but something that involves the human element.
Yeah, we have to understand the impacts on society. I mean, if you take, for instance, the Mediterranean region, we have projected that water problems in the Mediterranean region are going to become much more serious. That has major social implications. And I think society has to understand that anything that is going to affect water availability in that region, or for that matter even in North Africa, has very serious implications for society. So it's a social challenge. And I think somehow we have to communicate these scientific and technical problems in terms of their social challenge. And that, I think, is the role of the media.